Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a masterpiece that's, well, about 2.5 millennia old, but honestly, it plays out exactly like a modern political thriller. If you're an absolute beginner to Greek tragedy, you are in the perfect place. We're going to unpack Sophocles' brilliant play, Antigone, together. Look, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. It's a profoundly high-stakes drama about family, power, and what happens when the laws of the government completely collide with the laws of the human heart.
Just listen to this line from our main character. He has no right to keep me from my own. That's Antigone speaking, and man, it perfectly establishes her fierce, rebellious tone right out of the gate. She's staring down the absolute ruler of her city, a man who literally holds the power of life and death over her, and she's telling him flat out no. It's such a punchy, dangerous statement that instantly hooks us into our story. So you might be wondering, why is she risking everything? And who exactly is she fighting?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The curse of Thebes. 2. The ultimate sibling rivalry. 3. Antigone versus Creon. 4. Human law versus divine justice. And 5. Why Antigone still matters.
Section 1. The Curse of Thebes. A doomed bloodline. So, our story takes place in the ancient Greek city-state of Thebes. Now, in ancient Greece, the polis, or city-state, was literally everything. Civic duty to your polis was paramount. It was essentially how order was maintained in a pretty chaotic world. But Thebes, well, Thebes is carrying some very dark baggage. Antigone is part of a cursed royal bloodline. She's actually the daughter of King Oedipus. And yes, I mean that Oedipus, the guy whose tragic downfall basically gave family therapy a whole new meaning. After he's gone, a massive power vacuum is left in Thebes, setting the perfect stage for the next generation of this doomed family to just tear each other apart.
Section 2. The ultimate sibling rivalry and a catastrophic civil war. Let's move along and see how this builds, because it gets messy fast. Antigone has two brothers, Eteocles and Polynices. After the father, Oedipus, is gone, the brothers agree to a power-sharing deal. They'll alternate ruling Thebes year by year. Sounds fair enough, right? Well, after year 1, Eteocles flat out refuses to step down. So, in retaliation, Polynices gathers 6 foreign princes and their armies and marches right on his own home city of Thebes. In the ensuing battle, the two brothers meet on the battlefield and literally kill each other in a duel. So, with the next generation of royals completely wiped out in an hour, their uncle Creon suddenly becomes the brand new king of Thebes.
Section 3. Antigone versus Creon. The main event.
As his very first act as king, Creon issues a remarkably harsh decree. Eteocles, who defended the city, will receive a hero's burial. But Polynices, who attacked the city, is declared a traitor. His body is to be left out in the open, totally unburied, to be eaten by dogs and scavenger birds. To us today, this might just seem cruel, but in ancient Greece, the stakes were unimaginably high. They deeply, fundamentally believed that if a body wasn't given proper funeral rites, the soul could not cross the river Acheron. It would be doomed to wander, suffering for eternity. So by making this law, Creon is imposing a punishment that actually extends beyond death.
So, the crucial point here is this absolute head-to-head collision between our two main characters. On one side, you've got Antigone. She stands for divine law, fierce family loyalty, and incredible moral strength. She believes the gods demand a proper burial, no matter what some mortal king says. On the other side, you have King Creon. He stands for state law, civic duty, and the absolute authority of the government. But the thing is, he's also heavily driven by excessive pride and a corrupting need for absolute control. It's essentially an ideological boxing match where neither character is willing to compromise even an inch. Now, what's really interesting about the actual text from Sophocles' play is just how electric this confrontation is. When Antigone is caught burying her brother, fully knowing the penalty is death by stoning, by the way, she doesn't cower at all. She's brought before Creon and the dialogue just crackles. You can practically feel on the page how rapid and sharp their exchanges are. She proudly admits to the crime. She tells Creon right to his face that his mortal edict cannot override the unwritten, unchanging laws of heaven. I mean, the emotional punch of this 2,500-year-old confrontation is still incredibly raw and powerful today.
Section 4. Human law versus divine justice. A philosophical clash.
This play really is a masterclass in moral philosophy. First off, it warns us about the huge fault of excessive pride, or what the Greeks called hubris. Creon becomes so obsessed with his own authority that he completely refuses to listen to anyone, not the public, not his own son, not the gods. Second, it's about doing what's right despite the consequences.
Antigone knows for a fact she'll die for her actions, but her integrity just matters more than her life. And finally, it beautifully contrasts collectivism and individualism. Antigone represents the collective public conscience and universal divine law, whereas Creon acts as this arrogant individualist, essentially a dictator ruling only for his own ego.
And this brilliantly illustrates another really vital layer of the play. Modern research points out that Antigone is actually a fascinating feminist figure. Back in the ancient Greek world, women were expected to be completely passive and subordinate to men. In fact, Creon even rages in the play, "I will not be bested by a woman." But Antigone totally rejects the gender roles of her time. She acts as a powerful, autonomous political agent. She completely defies the patriarchal hierarchy of ancient Greece, proving that she is stronger, braver, and way more principled than the king himself.
But remember, this is a tragedy, and hubris always comes with a devastating price. Creon's stubbornness triggers a genuinely terrifying domino effect. He ignores the direct warnings of a blind prophet, Tiresias, and he actually seals Antigone alive in a stone tomb. By the time Creon finally realizes his terrible mistake and rushes down to free her, well, it's too late. Antigone has taken her own life. Finding her dead, Creon's own son, Haman, who happened to be engaged to Antigone, commits suicide right there in grief. When Creon's wife, Eurydice, hears of her son's death, she too takes her own life. Creon survives, yes, but his absolute pride has literally cost him everything. He's left utterly broken, lonely, and completely destroyed by his own laws.
Section 5. Why Antigone Still Matters. An Enduring Allegory.
We still study a play written way back in 441 BC because it is the ultimate enduring allegory for resistance against authoritarian rule. Throughout history, whenever oppressive governments have tried to crush individual rights or force citizens to violate their own moral conscience, people have turned to Antigone. From occupied France during World War II to modern civil rights movements, Antigone remains the absolute gold standard symbol of the courageous individual standing up to the unjust state.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with the profound question that Sophocles forces us to ask ourselves. Imagine you are put in that impossible position. If the law of the state and your own deep moral conscience collide, which do you choose? Do you obey the law to stay safe, or do you risk absolutely everything to do what you believe is right? It's a question that's just as difficult to answer today as it was 2,500 years ago. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and keep asking the big questions.